Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Just allow yourself for a moment to imagine what would happen if Kamala Harris or Tim Walz, or almost any other American politician, traveled with their campaign entourage to Section 60 of Arlington National Cemetery, stood among the graves of the American soldiers, Marines, sailors, and airmen killed in Iraq and Afghanistan in the last several decades, and got photographed grinning and giving the camera a thumbs up, then cut a campaign ad out of it. Republicans and reporters, I think, would have gone insane. Yet Donald Trump did that on Monday, and at first it really seemed to barely register. It made a little bit of a wave in the media on Tuesday, but yesterday that wave became a tsunami as we learned more details of Trump's photo op, how it completely fits with Trump's vision of how America and all its institutions should serve him, a vision that has become the entire operating principle for Trump's Republican Party. We now know the Trump campaign reportedly asked Army officials for permission to attend the Monday ceremony with some families of service members killed in Afghanistan. Now, here's the thing. Federal law bars political activities and recordings at Arlington because, of course, the families of all 400,000 veterans and dependents buried there cannot consent to being used in a campaign ad. So, officials, understandably, reportedly balked at Trump's plans. They saw what he was cooking up until they got a call from Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson. That's according to multiple sources who told the Daily Caller that cemetery officials relented to the political pressure from Republicans in Congress who wanted to make sure Trump could cut his campaign ad there. One source with knowledge of those calls said after the Speaker's call, the situation shifted significantly. Okay, so the Speaker calls, gets them to back down, even though they know exactly what's happening. They're like, you can't do this. Okay, fine. Officials still told Trump's people they had to follow the cemetery rules. The Army now confirms that when a cemetery worker tried to enforce those rules by stopping a Trump campaign aide from taking unauthorized photos and videos, the aide got physical with her, shoving her aside. Boy, it doesn't sound like a Trump aide, does it? According to the New York Times, that woman filed a report against the Trump aide. Military police were called to the scene, but listen to this is a key detail, but that the worker later declined to press charges. Military officials told the Times she said she feared Trump's supporters pursuing retaliation. Now, in a statement yesterday, Trump's campaign spokesman said the woman was, and again, based on nothing, I think, suffering from a mental health episode. His co-campaign manager said she was a, quote, despicable individual. This is a random worker at the Arlington National Cemetery attempting to preserve the rules for that hallowed ground. Now, for days, Trump stayed silent on this. His campaign's response was left to an army of one, if you will, running mate J.D. Vance, who said this yesterday afternoon.
First of all, the altercation at Arlington Cemetery is the media creating a story where I really don't think that there is one. There is verifiable evidence. There is verifiable evidence that the campaign was allowed to have a photographer there. There's verifiable they were invited to have a photographer there.
I'm not sure that's true, by the way, but then Vance said this yesterday evening.
I mean, you guys in the media, you're acting like Donald Trump filmed a TV commercial at a gravesite. He was there providing emotional support to a lot of brave Americans who lost loved ones they never should have lost, and there happened to be a camera there.
I'm sorry. We played this yesterday, but I play it again because it's just too good. There happened to be a camera there. It's not like Trump was filming a commercial there. It's a talking point that Trump himself took up, not surprisingly, when he finally spoke about the incident with NBC News' Dasha Burns today.
They like me. They called me, sir, would it be possible at my son's grave, and in one case at my daughter's grave, would it be possible, sir, for you to be at Arlington? I said, if it's important to you, I will be there. It's so important. We consider you our leader. It's so important. And I went. And you know what they said? Sir, could we have a picture at my son's grave? Could we have a picture at our daughter and our sister's grave? Because she had her sister there. It would be so great. Could we take a picture? I said, sure. I'm not thinking about a campaign.
He's Donald Trump. He's not thinking about a campaign. He's thinking chiefly of providing emotional support to people who are in pain, which is what he's spent his whole life doing. Obviously. It's all very spontaneous. He was just asked to take a photo of some supportive families. It wasn't to film a campaign ad, except that he also posted this video to social media.
13 great, great people. What a horrible day it was. We didn't lose one person in 18 months. And then they took over the disaster, the leaving of Afghanistan.
Dozens of American service members did lose their lives in service under Donald Trump, just to be clear. Dr. Burns also asked Trump about that ad.
Should your campaign have put out those videos and photos?
Well, we have a lot of people. We have people, TikTok people. We're leading the internet. That was the other thing. We're so far above her on the
But on
internet.
that hallowed ground, should they have put
Well, I
out
don't
the
know what the
images of
rules
those?
and regulations are. I don't know who did it. And it could have been them. It could have been the parents. It could have been
It
somebody.
was your campaign's TikTok that
Okay,
put out the
I
video.
really don't know anything about it. All I do is I stood there and I said, if you'd like to have a picture, we can have a picture. If somebody did it, this was a setup by the people in the administration.
We're leading the internet. It was your campaign. Now, Trump lied in an attempt to score some crude campaign points in a context that ought to be completely beyond crude politics. His partisans got rough with a civil servant who got in their way, and that civil servant ultimately dropped her complaint for fears of retribution. Does that sound familiar? Does it sound a little like the story of Alexander Vindman, the soldier and National Security Council staffer who blew the whistle on Trump's attempts to extort Ukraine for dirt on Joe Biden? Or maybe it reminds you of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, the Georgia election officials whose lives were threatened after Trump falsely accused them of rigging votes. Maybe it reminds you of the threats against the women who have accused Trump of sexual assault, and all the public officials who have prosecuted or sued him, and all the judges who have ruled against him, and all the elections officials who refused to break the rule or falsify votes for him, and all the Republicans who voted to impeach him. In each of those cases, Trump has gotten away with intimidation, mafia-style gangster threats because rank-and-file Republicans let him, or in many cases just straight up help him. Using government power to make their partisan politics a sort of official state religion, and bullying anyone who gets in their way. Like, for instance, the Volunteers for LULAC, that's the League of United Latin